Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I greet you all according to your time and locations. You'll be watching this video. Yes, my dear viewers, I am back again with another update. So guys, I have a video here I would like we all to watch. But before then, if you're meeting my channel for the very first time, you're highly welcome. Please kindly do well to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your thought on the comment section. Let us know what you think about this video, and I will see you towards the end.
Usman Bugaje, a political historian and former member of the House of Representatives. Good to see you on News Night tonight. Nigeria marks 63, October 1. It would be nice to get your thoughts, especially against the backdrop of where Nigeria is. When you think about the economy, you're thinking about the security situation and all the ills that seem to bedevil Nigeria. How far so far with Nigeria at 63?
Well, I think it's everybody's knowledge now that the country has been going down the drain, unfortunately. Our economy has been crumbling. Insecurity has escalated to a level that was previously inconceivable. Poverty has more than doubled. At one time, we were being called the poverty capital of this world, and the large number of out-of-school children. And you can continue to mention a number of indices, where we are really doing very, very poorly. In fact, some of our indices are very close to that of war-torn Afghanistan and Syria and some of these other countries that have been basically battle-ridden. Therefore, there is not much to show for the independence that we have had. And times like these are times when we should reflect, and reflect deeply, not the superficial kind of speeches that I hear. I mean, I just heard what our former president, Goodluck Jonathan, was saying. He says a lot of sense. What is being discussed at that gathering makes a lot of sense. But unfortunately, when he had the opportunity, he was not acting that very sense that he's preaching now. And this is typical of our leaders. I see the current president, when he was in opposition, he was very articulate and very, inspiring. Now he has the power, and I don't see that again coming across. And this has been the case. I mean, the one before him is clearly, he has been a disaster. And see what we are going through. So I think we need to do a more fundamental check. And since this is not a place for long speeches, let me quickly say that there are three areas that we need to look at very carefully and change. One, and I will start with this because I think is the most fundamental, the elite in Nigeria have not been able to come to a consensus as to where they want to take their country in the next 25 years or 50 years. And until there is some elite consensus, I don't see this country making progress. The elite in the north will move in the northern direction, the elite in the south will move in the southern direction, and so we are tearing the country apart. We have not learned the basic lesson of even survival in a very competitive environment of the 21st century. We need to come together and say, wait a minute, we are in this country, like it, don't like it, we're in this country. And the most important thing for us is see how can we survive and thrive in this country. And there are ways to do that, and other countries have done so. I mean, look at even Rwanda, a small country that went through hell, as it were. And see, it's making fantastic progress simply because there is some level of elite consensus among Rwandans as to where they want their country to be. So one, we need elite consensus as to where we want this country to be, and this should not be a very difficult thing. Secondly, we need a very strong civil society. Labor is going on strike, but labor is doing it alone. Labor should, it's a major branch of the civil society. Labor should be able to carry other civil society platforms together, and they should be able to be talking solutions, not just going on strike. They should have an idea of what this country should be doing. When they engage politicians, they should not be engaging politicians simply because the fuel prices have gone up. Yes, these are legitimate concerns, but they should be thinking beyond that. How do we fix the economy? How do we get the country moving? This is a country that is already well over 200 million. In 2030, which is 7 years away, we expect this population to be 300 by United Nations estimation. Another 20 years down the line, 2050, this country is expected to be well over 400 million people, and this is going to make it the third largest country after India and China. The engagement with politicians should be, how do we make this country viable? How do we feed this population? How do we build schools for the children? How do we create jobs? How do we provide facilities, infrastructure?
So I'm actually waiting for the third one.
The most serious one.
Yeah. The third one, please.
Okay, the last bit is the third one is the politicians. They have been a bunch of reckless people, very irresponsible. Look at in the last 25 years. They are even not ashamed that in the last 25 years this country has been going down the drain. And the leadership recruitment, in the political parties is appalling. I mean, there is no way. The way we recruit leaders within the political parties, and I'm not talking about ruling party or opposition party, all the parties, literally, I have not seen any with a leadership recruitment mechanism that prioritizes competence, prioritizes patriotism, prioritizes the kind of activities or the kind of features that build countries.
So, Dr. Bugaje,
using money.
Let me jump in here.
To power and then destroying.
Okay, Dr. Bugaje, apologies for butting in there. Just let me come in here. Looking at the three legs you've painted now, let's take it back, but starting from the very last, the leadership recruitment process which you highlighted, is there a way the National Assembly can help, rejig our political system to the extent that we have laws that can help? Because you were there, it's a good thing that you understand where this is headed. So how best can the legislature help Nigeria?
Suleiman, very good question there. I'm afraid the legislature is part of the big problem. They are part of the very problem that I'm talking about. And I think something has to change fundamentally from the political parties, because the people in the legislature are a product of these political parties. When they were fixing or when they were trying to elect their own leaders, what we heard was kind of horse trading. There was no prioritization of competence, and people who were clearly corrupt in their previous offices were being banded and being put as leaders. How do you expect these people to really fix this country? They can only perpetuate the very culture that has thrown them up. And this political culture is not something that you can legislate on. There has to be a national uprising to make sure that those that we are going to put in power at every level of power must meet certain basic requirements of integrity, of decency, of competence, so that we can begin to lift our country and to be able to be competitive in this 21st century. I can't see much hope, honestly, with the National Assembly as it is at the moment. I'm not saying there aren't fine people here and there within the final assembly. I mean, the National Assembly, I would like to think that there are some few people, but they can't do anything at the moment. They are marginalized. I mean, it is this same, corrupt elements that are forging the way and determining the direction. And you can see it, how they were distributing money while, the ordinary people that, ostensibly elected them were dying or are still dying of poverty. you can see the amount of money that's being thrown up. What us was looking for recently was a fraction of some of the money that the politicians have stolen. How can we run a country like this? No country has been built by leaders with character deficit of the kind that we have at the moment.
Why do you think there's that character deficit in our leadership? And, you know, we've been talking about the National Assembly and the role that it can play in bringing about that good governance. You've been there as a lawmaker. There's been this argument or discussion around the system of governance, whether parliamentary or presidential, that presidential is too costly for Nigeria. From your standpoint, what would you say going forward should Nigeria be considering now as the best way forward to reflect where we are as a nation?
Well, if we want the National Assembly to play a role, and they have a role constitutionally to play, the first step is to stop the executive determining the leadership of the National Assembly. When I was there 2003, 2007, that was exactly our problem. President Obasanjo then did not allow the legislature to elect its own leaders, and therefore leaders were imposed, and the same thing since that time. Maybe 1990 to 2003 there was some level of independence. We were just starting. There was no particular president in place. It was the military in place who were trying to leave the scene. So maybe there was some level of a genuine election for the National Assembly to elect its own leaders. In any case, one thing that has been missing, and this is something that we've been glossing over, and this is the real problem. There is no criteria for leadership in this country. What you have in the Constitution is a criteria for eligibility. There is no criteria for suitability. When you get to the corporate world and you want to put an MD or you want to put a general manager, you come up with certain things that you require. You go to the media, you advertise that this post is for people with 15 years experience of this, with this and this and that. And even then they get references and they go through exercise where they are screened. Here, there is no particular thing. The fact that if you finish a secondary school, you can be a president, really is a shameful thing. There must be criteria if you really want the kind of leadership that can deliver.
Well, quickly here before we let you go, I'm I'm going back to the question, Ngozi asked earlier on. Specifically speaking, if we can actually just go straight forward, do you think bicameral legislature is fit for Nigeria as against what we started with, the parliamentary system?
You see, I don't think it's necessary. What we did in 1979, as some of you may remember, we just simply took the American system, hook, line, and sinker. We did not customize it to our particular peculiarities. So at the moment, for me, it really is a big wastage of resources. We don't have the economy to support the American system. But even the American system, as you know, is not working. I mean, look at what is happening in the United States right now. So my point is that we have to come back, and this is the work of our intellectuals, the elite. They need to come back and see how can we customize our political system to fit in with our own peculiar socio-economic and political environment. And this is part of what you might call the colonial hangover. We think because it's American, it's good. No, America developed that within the context of its own history and culture. Every country that is making progress, China is not practicing democracy in the way we see it, in the way we know it, but China is making huge progresses. Everybody wants to, go to China now. Everybody wants to work with China, but China is not a democracy. China has developed a system of meritocracy that is, if you like, that blends with its own culture, with its own history. That's what we're supposed to do.
Right, I guess we'll have to leave it there.
Well, we'd like to thank you for your time, Dr. Usman Bugaji. Always a delight speaking with you, and happy independence is in order.